We are Blackmore. We are Ohio.
Well, it's a lovely night in downtown Philadelphia, South Philly to be precise. And we welcome you to Citizens Bank Park for the finale of this series, and the Reds are trying to get out of here with their first win of this three-game series. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. Let's get right at it. One of the big challenges for the Reds this season, what were they going to do with Billy Hamilton? Could Billy Hamilton bat leadoff and get on base more frequently? He's batting in the 9th spot most of the time, Chris, and lately, he's doing exactly that.
Well, I think it's going to come along slowly for Billy Hamilton. Maybe the only slow thing in his life, actually. But, you know, he's a guy that if he puts the ball in play, when he gets on base, you know what he could do. I mean, it's really incredible how easily he stole bases last night off a catcher who had some really good pop times. We'll talk about that later on. But getting the ball on the ground, putting a ball on a bunt, working deep into the count, those are all the things that they tried to get Billy Hamilton to do, and it will come. This young man is going to be just fine.
On the mound tonight in search of his first good outing here in 2000. He had a pile of 2018. He had a bunch of them last year.
Well, you know, sometimes it's hard to live up to the billing when you have a really great second half of the year like Luis Castillo did, and then you come on and then teams have your number. They've got scouting reports, and you've got to be really extra fine, and that's really been his problem so far. He's throwing the ball plenty hard, and his changeup is plenty enough difference in velocity, but he's not on the corners, and when he's on the corners, he'll be back to the Luis Castillo we expect to see.
Meanwhile, pitching for the Phillies, good-looking pitcher in Nick Pivetta off to a big-time start.
Well, he's a big guy, 6 feet 5 inches tall, and he can overpower you. His fastball will go into the upper 90s. He's got a nice slider, but he throws a lot of pitches. He's only going to go about 5 innings because he'll be up around the 100-pitch mark. So we'll see if the Reds can be patient at the plate tonight.
All right, when we come back, we'll check in with our main man down along the Reds dugout, and of course that would be Jim Day. I'll tell you, these Phillies are pretty good at home, and they have been really good against the Reds over the last decade.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Citizens Bank Park has been a tough place for the Reds over the years, and tough of late on everyone, really. You check out our Elk and Elk storylines, and you'll see so far this season the Phillies in 5 games with a 4-1 record. Now, the runs per game are up there, and that was ballooned because of one high-scoring game, but they have pitched in this park. 2.40 ERA. They've held opponents to just a 189 batting average. Small sample size, yes, at 5 games, but you go back to July of last year, they're 29-18 at home, 3rd best in the National League. So they have been getting it done in their friendly confines. The Reds trying to put a dent in that tonight as we go upstairs to the guys that will call it. Tom Brenneman, Chris Welsh.
All righty, Jim Day, thank you very much. And hi again, everybody. Delighted to have you with us on this Wednesday night from Philadelphia. First-year manager Gabe Kapler trying to get his team to 1 game over 500. Something of note, after 11 games in a season, the Phillies have not been a game over 500 since 2011. So it's been a while. Let's take a look at the Reds starting lineup under manager Brian Price. 2 wins against 8 losses. It's presented by Nissan. Jesse Winker in left. Jose Peraza the shortstop. Joey Votto at first. Jeanette the cleanup hitter. First start of this series for Devin Mesoraco. Phillip Ervin starts in right field. Phil Goslin down at third. Castillo on the mound, and Billy Hamilton is in center field. Chilly weather, no big deal for Nick Pivetta, born and raised Canadian.
Well, he did his college work down in the lower United States, Tom, and he's a young man, I think, that was drafted out of New Mexico, and he's a big, hard-throwing guy. He can throw the ball up around 97 miles an hour. He's got a couple of different breaking balls, but they're so close to each other. The curveball and the slider, they're going to look like the same thing. And he's coming off a very good outing where he struck out more than innings pitched. He has been around the plate. The one thing he's done, though, last year and this year is thrown a lot of pitches in the few innings he's been out there. He averaged over 18 pitches per inning last year. That's a lot. And if the Reds can be a little patient up there, maybe they can work the walks.
Now, the one thing he has done this year, he's had a much better strikeout to walk ratio. Now, granted, it's only 2 starts. It's only 9 2/3 innings, but he's fanned 12 and walked only 2.
And he's now 25 years old. So, you know, with the experience, I think, comes a better delivery. And a big guy like that, sometimes it's hard to get out of your own way. He seems to be doing better on that this year. If he's on his game, it'll be a tough challenge here tonight.
Jesse Winker playing in left field tonight, settles in from the left side and looks at ball 1 down low, and this one underway. Jerry Meals is the crew chief. He is the home plate umpire tonight. Ben May the ump at first, Ron Culp at second. Gabe Morales is at third base. Quickly 2-0 on Jesse Winker. 7 hits, 26 at bats without an extra base hit. On base percentage up over .450. It's interesting to note that the first 3 hitters in this Reds lineup, and 5 of the 9 do not have a single extra base hit so far this year. In fact, the pitcher, Luis Castillo, has more extra base hits than 5 other players in the Reds starting lineup tonight. Castillo has 1. Call it for the fastball in on Winker. 3 balls and a strike. Straight away center field. Hit a long, long way, and Herrera is unable to handle it. Looked like it clanked right off his glove. Ball that should have been caught, I would imagine. Well, we'll wait and see. You never know.
This ball is absolutely crushed by Jesse Winker. I think you're going to see this young man's power get better and better as he really begins to feel his way through the major leagues. Herrera looked like he was camped under that ball, even though it was kind of drifting on him, and it goes off his glove. So clanked is a great description, and the Reds reach a base runner in scoring position here to start the game off.
Still no scoring decision as to whether that's a hit or an error.
What do you say?
It's an error. He's standing right there. Swinging a foul ball. What do you think?
I give him a hit.
Okay.
That way you protect the home center fielder, and you give, you know, Winker credit for hitting the ball almost 410 feet. Now, meanwhile, the
The charge at hand now is for Peraza to get Winker to third base. This is all he's got to do. Get the ball to the right side.
They did rule it an error on Odubel Herrera. And Peraza's going to advance him the old-fashioned way. Just drops a bunt. Not sure if the Reds asked him to do that, but you can't roll it out there any better than that. And the Reds have Winker now at third with only one out in the inning. We take a look at Philadelphia defensively. Presented by Ford. Kingery. 3 different starting positions in this series. How about that? Herrera and Williams showing him in the outfield. Franco back in there with Crawford on the left side. Hernandez and Santana on the right. And a third straight start for Jorge Alfaro. Joey Votto, 9 hits, 39 at bats, 2 runs batted in. Infield in. And a soft broken bat liner for the second out of the inning. You could hear that bat crack all the way up here.
Well, the pitch up in the zone, and Joey Votto is going to take a shot at hitting a fly ball right here. The problem is he doesn't hit too many fly balls. And that ball was lined right at the third baseman, although not a bullet, as you said, probably a broken bat. Reds are now going to need a base hit or a wild pitch to get the run in.
Scooter Gennett, 12 hits and 41 at bats, has 3 doubles, 2 runs batted in. Naturally, the infield backs up. And a first pitch breaking ball is way inside on the left-handed batting Red second baseman.
Pretty good curveball right there. The slider he throws will be in the low 80s, 83, 82, 84 miles an hour like that. And the curveball will be in the high 70s. That's a little snapper.
Comes right back with another one.
Well, he throws his fastball about 63% of the time. That's big league average right there. Curveball a little bit more than his slider. Occasionally a changeup, but not very much at all.
Came back with a gas there at 94, and it was down.
You know, that's one of the reasons I really like the curveball, Tom. It seemed like for a long time the curve seemed to fall into disfavor. That everybody who threw hard came up with a slider, because you can learn a slider in about 20 minutes. It takes a while to really begin to learn how to throw a curve. But the difference in speed, I think, is really helpful.
93 up and away, a swing and a miss, and the Reds miss a chance after an error. Luis Castillo, the flamethrower, gets the ball when we come back. A Pirate hat or something over there. Maybe it's a local high school. I don't know. Let's take a look at the Phillies lineup under manager Gabe Kapler, presented by Nissan. Hernandez, Kingery, Herrera, Santana, Franco, Williams, Alfaro, Pivetta in the 8-hole, and Crawford, the shortstop, will bat ninth. Luis Castillo was sensational when the Reds brought him to the major leagues last year. He was one of the most impressive pitchers on any team. But so far this year, 2 starts, 2 losses, 10 innings, 12 hits, 4 walks, 2 home runs. He's given up 10 earned runs in those 10 innings.
You know, when Castillo came on the scene last year, he basically was just kind of throwing the ball naturally. And I think the more he has thrown that 2-seam fastball, the more he's tried to make the ball move a little bit, getting a little bit too rotational. Don't want to sound too technical now, but sometimes you just have to go back to basics. And I think that would be a good thing for Luis Castillo to start. Just cut that baby loose and throw your changeup and keep it down and see what happens.
Hernandez off to a good start, 11 hits and 36 at bats with a home run. And he takes a 3-1 breaking ball in there, a strike, or a fastball, I beg your pardon. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Castillo, because of all the strikeouts, tends to rack up very high pitch counts through the course of a game. He does strike out the first batter.
I like the location of most all the pitches in this at bat. I can tell you, especially the one that puts Hernandez away. Knees black, going away from him at 96. That's a good combination.
So now Kingery, uber talented young player, just called up to the big leagues for the first time this year. And before he ever stepped foot in a major league game, the Phillies gave him a 6-year contract. 8 hits, 31 at bats, has homered in each of the first 2 games of this series, his first 2 major league home runs. Good changeup right there by Castillo to get ahead, 0-2. Hit that grand slam last night in the bottom of the 8th inning. That came off Tanner Rainey, who was making his major league debut.
Well, the first home run he hit off Cody Reed, the ball was almost in the ground right there. Picked it right off his shoe tops. And last night, classic hanging slider, about waist high, lukewarm. Unfortunately for Tanner Rainey, the base is loaded.
Yeah, Rick Stowe, the Reds clubhouse manager, was sort of tongue-in-cheek today, talking about normally a player comes to the major leagues, they make their major league debut. It's customary for Rick to get multiple copies of the scorecard made out by the manager, the lineup card, Brian Price. There's a liner into center field on a 1-2 pitch. It's a single. And he said, Blandino went 0 for 3, made a throwing error. Tanner Rainey made his major league debut, gave up a grand slam. He says, I was a little apprehensive about asking him about that. He was going to check in with him before the game today.
You can't change history.
No, you can't.
And it sure was memorable. I would like to have seen Blandino in the lineup tonight. You want to get the kid back out there and let him know that he's not being penalized for having one bad game as major league debut.
Well, it's interesting to note if the Reds should decide to make the move, much speculation that perhaps Nick Senzel could be with the major league club as early as Friday. I mean, no one's saying that for sure, but that would be a day where you've met enough time, service time, et cetera, to keep him from being a Super 2 player and getting to arbitration earlier or getting to free agency a year
maybe
early.
we should really explain that in more basic terms. According to the basic agreement, if a player has 173 days, is that what it is in the major leagues? And then he can become a free agent basically a year earlier than normal. And so if you keep him down the minor leagues, or if he sends a certain amount of time down the minor leagues, I think it's about 2 weeks, then you make sure that he doesn't reach that threshold and become a free agent a year earlier. So that's basically what they did, the Cubs with Chris Bryant. And obviously the Reds are thinking the same thing with Nick Senzel. And I think it's an obvious thing to do. I just think it's a horrible rule. I mean, it hurts the fan base, it hurts the player, it hurts the team. I just don't know who it benefits. Maybe Dick Williams can explain that to me, but I don't see any benefit to that rule like that. I mean, if you've got a great young kid in the minor leagues, why do you have to keep him down for a couple of weeks and keep your fan base from seeing it? Keep your people from seeing him on opening day. Enough of the soapbox.
The number is 172 days.
Okay.
Including off days, there are 186 days in this 2018 Major League Baseball season. So in other words, any player who's on a roster for 179 days technically in a baseball season earns 1 full year of service time. A player on the roster for 171 days does not accrue a full year of service time. That's off the glove. That's a nice play. I mean, that would have been a 2-base hit if Gosselin doesn't at least knock it down. So back-to-back 1-out singles against Castillo here in the Philadelphia first.
Well, Odubel Herrera going the other way right there, and I think the reason why is because Luis Castillo hasn't come inside yet. It's one thing about a lot of young pitchers, they're reluctant to come inside. They don't want to make a mistake and leave it out over the plate and have a guy hit a home run, and they don't want to miss inside and then hit a guy. But if you watched young Aaron Nola last night, and Homer Bailey for that matter, they controlled both sides of the plate. You've got to be able to come in there in order to open up that outer edge. And right now Castillo's kind of living on that outside corner and not coming in, claiming part of the strike zone for himself.
Slow bouncer to the right side. Jeanette will take the second out. And a pair of Phillies now in scoring position for the third baseman, Franco. Take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Winker moves over to left. Hamilton in center. Urban, second start on this road trip out at right. Gosselin the start at third. Devin Mesoraco, his first start of the series, second on this trip for the Pennsylvania native who hails from Puxatawney, PA. Franco 8 hits, 26 at bats, and he's made the most of them. He's driven in 12 runs so far this year. And he looks at a strike, a 96-mile-per-hour fastball by Castillo. On the ground, but right at Gosselin. He'll make the throw across the diamond, and that's all. So good work by Castillo. The Phillies strand a pair. They get a couple of hits, and we're scoreless at the end of one. Your experience to catch every moment this season. Download MLB at Bat today. Here we go. Inning number 2. No score. Nick Pivetta delivers ball 1 to Devin Mesoraco. Devin 10 at bats so far this year. He has 1 base hit. Told you Pivetta, a native Canadian. In fact, has pitched internationally as part of the Canadian national team. But he was originally a Washington National. He came to these Philadelphia Phillies in the deal from Jonathan Papelbon. And I know you like this curveball.
I mean, to tell you that's a Steven Strasburg curveball right there. And I've said it many times, in order to throw a good curve, you need good arm speed to get impart spin on the pitch. And when you're throwing 96 miles an hour, and Pivetta can do that, he can even go higher than that. He's thrown as hard as 100. But you naturally have the ability to impart a lot of spin. Kind of gets away with a high one up out of the zone. You hang it high enough, sometimes it's a good result.
I mean, when this guy's throwing strikes, and Chris brought it up earlier, he is very, very tough to hit. You go back to 2017, and this young man, he made 26 starts in the big leagues. That was the most by a Phillies rookie since Pat Combs started 31 games all the way back in 1990. So it had been a while. But among all National League pitchers, he ranked 4th in lowest percentage of pitches put in play. And the 3 guys in front of him, pretty good. Robbie Ray, Max Scherzer, and Rich Hill.
Well, he's doing a few things that I really like out there, Tom. Number one, his pace between pitches is very quick. He gets the ball and he's ready to go. The other thing I like, his delivery looks very much under control. He doesn't really look like he's putting a lot of effort into it, much like the Red starter Castillo. Both of these guys have really good arms, but they don't seem like they have to grunt and groan to get the job done.
2 strikeouts in the game already for Pivetta. He's fallen behind 3-1 on Phillip Ervin. Straight up in the air on a 3-1 pitch. 95-mile-per-hour fastball, and Santana will fake as though he's going to get it and allows his running mate Hernandez to take care of it. 2 away.
You know, the 95-mile-an-hour fastball is one thing, but when you have a big guy like Pivetta throwing it that hard, and he has a long leg stride, he's really close to home plate. You know, you can see where we'll get a shot from high home and show you where he lands, and he's got really great extension. So it's not really how fast you throw, it's how the amount of time a hitter has from the time the ball leaves your hand until it gets to home plate. And if you're closer to home, he has less time.
In the air down the first base line, and this one will drift in amongst the fans. It's quickly 0-2 on Phil Gosselin. It's a home run coming for Gosselin. He was hanging out with some buddies of his from high school the other night. He was telling us that actually a couple of winters he lived in downtown Philadelphia. Said he had the time of his life. Really enjoyed it. Swinging a foul ball off out of play.
They're playing him to hit the ball to right field. Herrera shaved around to right center. And the right fielder, Nick Williams, is playing very shallow. He's out here. That's a shallow right field there, and they figured that Gosselin wants to take that ball the other way. I love coming to the city. I mean, it is really, first few years wasn't that wild about it, but now that I've been here many times and done a lot of the tourist things, if you've got kids, this is a great place to come and go through the historical parts of this town.
Now, I would recommend, because I brought our son Luke here a couple of years ago, he was probably a little too young to really be able to enjoy some of those, things you're talking about, Independence Hall and seeing the Liberty Bell and all those kinds of things, among many, many others. But I would highly recommend, if you're thinking about doing it and if you can work it out with your job and when you can get off and all that kind of thing, I would do it in June, or I would do it very, very, very late in the summer, because this place can really get hot. It's a huge city. I mean, it's one of the 10 largest cities in the United States of America. A lot of pavement, very humid. And if you're walking around a lot, it's hot. Lined into right. That's where he figured he'd hit it, and he did. 1, 2, 3, 4, Pavetta.
Starts both 9-1. Both are best starts in team history, and they're doing it under a couple of new skippers. Alex Cora for Boston, Mickey Callaway of the Mets are two of the 4 managers all time to start their careers with a 9-1 record or better.
How about that?
Well, I think Boston was expected with that ball club to get off to a good start and maintain that, but I think the Mets have really surprised a lot of people.
Well, I think you and I, we talked about it, if not opening day, the second day of the year, that if that pitching rotation, the starting rotation, stays healthy. I mean, look, when those guys are all healthy and throwing the ball like they're supposed to, I'm not so sure there's a starting staff 1 to 5 that you could say for sure is better than the Mets. Now, the front 3 with the Nationals are really, really good, and Tanner Roark's a nice number 4. But 1 through 5 with the Mets, if Matz is back healthy again, Harvey throwing the ball well, Syndergaard, DeGrom, that's a good group.
And that's a really good pitch right there. Against the left-hander, Castillo is coming inside right there. There's the standings in the NL East.
We consider the Nationals, they started 3-0. They've gone 3-6 since that time, including 4 straight losses to the Mets. Williams hits the ball right on the screws, but right at Jeanette. Well, one team has joined Boston and New York with 9 wins. That's when Arizona beat the Giants earlier today, 7-3. The Pirates will play in Chicago in about a half hour from now, and the Pirates with a chance to earn a 9th victory in this young season, should they beat the Cubbies for a second straight day. Of course, the Reds tonight are trying to avoid a 9th loss. They need a win to feel good about themselves getting on that plane, get home very late tonight, and then tee them up with the St. Louis Cardinals, who I would imagine are already for quite a bit of time in Cincinnati. Most of the teams in baseball played day games today. I thought that was the idea behind this whole collective bargaining agreement, that they wanted to have getaway days on travel days. Now, it's not a travel day today for the Phillies. They're not leaving until tomorrow. There's a swing and a miss, strike 3. to Alfaro, and that's strikeout number 2.
Well, it looks like Luis Castillo, if he was a little bit wobbly in the first inning, he's getting locked in right now. He has thrown some really good pitches here to the first 2 batters in this inning. Alfaro is going to strike out a lot, and he chases the pitch up out of the zone.
So now pitcher against pitcher with 2
Dave,
down.
You know, Tom, both of these pitchers, if you watch their body language on the mound, they're very poised. They're standing straight up. I mean, they look like they want to control the ball game.
And the other thing you made note on Pivetta, both of these guys, they get the ball and go.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of fooling around like we see from so many other pitchers. They're ready. That ball is stung into right field on a 1-1 pitch by Pivetta, his first hit in 6 at-bats this year. Phillies have hit some balls hard so far in this game.
Pretty good bit of hitting for a pitcher.
Yeah. Kingery hit a liner into center. Herrera hit that bullet that Goslin was able to knock down. He had the line out by Williams to begin the inning, and now a sharp single to right by the pitcher. And here's a number 9 batter having a very rough start to his year, and that's J.P. Crawford. 2 hits in 26 at-bats for Crawford. Of course, we'll wait and see how it all shakes out for Crawford. He's still a young player. But, you know, he's an example of, and we hear it from all teams. You know, when this guy was coming up through the minor leagues, we heard he was going to be the next Jimmy Rollins, the next great star of the Philadelphia Phillies for years and years and years and years. He might be lucky to keep his job if he doesn't start hitting. He's been a good player, but many believe that depending on how this season shakes out, Kingery could wind up being the everyday shortstop. You just never know. And that's why a lot of us were all excited about seeing, you know, some of these young pitchers with the Reds and seeing maybe Senzel this year. Who knows? We'll see. He's never played at AAA until this year. And, of course, their season just got underway over the weekend. But you just don't know. And then there's some other guys you don't hear a lot about, and they just take off. That's a balk.
Yeah.
The pitcher caught the attention of Castillo by drifting about 20 feet off the bag and forces the balk. Look at this.
Once you come to your set, and anytime you make a quick movement like that with your front left shoulder, that's a classic balk. He knew it as soon as he did it.
And this one is launched way back into the night, into the second deck. 2-run home run by Crawford.
Well, they wanted to go up the ladder. You see where Devin Mesoraco is holding the glove. He missed a spot, though. And if you miss your spot down around the knees and you throw it thigh high, or if you miss your spot around the letters and you throw it down closer to the belt, bad things happen.
If I'm not mistaken, of the 4 Philadelphia hits, 3 of the 4, including that one right there, came on 2 strike pitches by Castillo. In fact, that home run came on an 0-2 pitch. And this ball is in the air, deep center field. Hamilton at the track, Hamilton at the wall, and Billy got it and crashes into the wall, and now able to get back to his feet. You almost take for granted the plays this guy makes every single night, seemingly. Phillies lead 2-0. Luis Castillo leads off the Cincinnati third. Reds trailing 2-0. Billy Hamilton went crashing into that wall. You know, the first thing you thought, left shoulder. But when you go back and look at the replay again and again, he appeared to slam his head up against the chain link fence portion of the outfield wall in front of the bullpen.
Well, I think it was one of those pads there, Tom, but the pad is deceiving. There's an iron bar that holds the fence up right behind that. We'll take a look at it at the very end. Another remarkable defensive job by Hamilton. And then right there.
Yep.
I don't know whether he wrenched his neck or whether he has, hit his head, and that's where the injury was sustained. But they took him down into the Reds, up the runway into the Reds clubhouse.
Saw Billy Hatcher start putting up how many fingers you have.
And there he is in the batter's box.
Yeah, that was a quick trip into the clubhouse. And
maybe
back.
he just went in there to get a new helmet.
Oh, he's smiling in there.
The Phillies are just trying to completely take the idea of a bunt away. Maikel Franco at third base is so close. Reminds me of Pete Rose and Mickey Rivers. He's the third baseman there, so close to Billy Hamilton.
Straight up into the air. Alfaro takes care of it. It's good play by the Philadelphia catcher for the second out of the inning. Billy's been on base 5 times in the first 2 games of this series.
Yeah, he's got that on base percentage up over 300. Remember what people said about Hamilton? If he can just get the on base percentage up around 320. I mean, lower your expectations. But if he can just get it minimally around there, he makes things happen.
Batter Jesse Winker. Winker and Goslin both hit the ball very, very hard in their first trips to the plate against Pavetta. Winker drove that ball into deep left center field. Herrera had to go back to get it. Appeared to be standing there ready to make the catch, and when he reached off, it just popped right off his glove and was scored a 2-base error on the Philadelphia center fielder. So the Reds are looking for their first hit still in this game. Remember, Philadelphia last night went 5 innings without a hit against Homer Bailey, and they scored a run in Homer's final inning, the 6th. Got one in the 7th and the grand slam off the bat of Kingery in the 8th. These two teams have been playing against each other for a long, long, long time. Jim Day gave you some of the numbers about how Philadelphia has really owned the Reds for over a decade, especially in this park. They've already won this series, and that's strike 3 called to Winker. 4 strikeouts for Pavetta. He's not walked about it. His second straight perfect inning. Pick a date for your group and enjoy one of our newest and most luxurious options at Jack Casino's Super Suite. Upscale buffet, climate control. Perfect for groups of 30 to 40. That's where they used to play the old Army-Navy game. Truly one of the greatest sporting events in the world, not just here in the United States, but in the world. That game every year they play. And now they've moved across the street to handle more bodies over there at the home of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. What's the name of that? Franklin Field? Is that what it is? Yeah, Franklin Field. One ball, one strike. As Scott Kingery leads things off here in the Philadelphia third.
Yeah, J.P. Crawford, the young man who hit the home run, must have heard you talk of Kingery. Kingery has put some pressure on Crawford to get it going. His batting average, Crawford, that is under 100. Hadn't done much at all until that home run. Kingery's played 3 different positions in 3 games. And when they gave him the long-term contract right out of spring training, they thought that perhaps the player that was in most jeopardy was the third baseman, Michael Franco, but Franco's gotten off to a very hot start. So Kingery probably will just take some playing time, bits and pieces around the field.
The guy who's probably been the best at that in the National League over the last 2-3 seasons is Javier Baez, where they play him outfield, infield, can play him anywhere. And obviously he has become a really good player for the Chicago Cubs.
Well, he's not the only one on that Cubs who moves around, though.
Right.
Ben Zobrist was the quote-unquote super utility player, but we've seen Chris Bryant move around a little bit.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's why I didn't really get ruffled when I hear that Nick Senzel was playing second base down in minor leagues. Now he is back to playing third base last couple of games.
Okay, with all that hair that Herrera has, I'm amazed he can even see the pitcher, because those bangs are hanging down there. You just see he just brushed a couple of them aside. It's popped up in his short left. Winker a long way to go, and he'll get there in time. First 2 retired by Castillo. The first Reds-Phillies game took place in May of 1890 in Philadelphia. Reds won that game 5-1, so this is the 129th season of competition between these two clubs. The Reds lead the all-time series by a ton. 2,093 games they have played against one another, including tonight. Castillo is fan 2. He's allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. He got Santana on a ground ball to second his first trip. Reds and the Cardinals will kick off a 4-game series tomorrow night. And don't forget the Reds, and we've talked about it for years and years and years, and this is the first year the Reds are finally doing it. Here in the month of April and early May, the Reds will be experimenting with a 6:40 start time. So if you're thinking about coming down tomorrow night or Friday night, Thursday and Friday will begin at 6:40. You know, we made reference to the Indians. They're doing the same thing. So here we are starting after 7 o'clock, and the Indians are already moving into the 5th inning, the 6th inning of their game. So that should help a lot of families who are, got to get up for work the next morning. Kids go to school the next morning. Maybe you'd be apprehensive you're going to get home too late. So by moving up the start time 30 minutes, that might help.
And it may keep people in the ballpark to the most important part of the ball game, which is the last couple of innings.
Once more, Winker comes in to short left field to make the catch. First perfect inning of the night by Luis Castillo. He's on the short end of a 2-0 game.
For being a Red, but his final season in the bigs was with the Los Angeles Angels, and they won their first game in franchise history 7-2 at Baltimore. Big Clue hit his first home run, hit the first home run in team history, a 2-run home run in the first inning, then followed that up with a 3-run shot in the second.
One of the most beautiful men you'd ever want to know. You hear that term used so frequently, gentle giant. He was the epitome of that description. Of course, he was a hitting coach for the Reds during their heyday of the Big Red Machine, and his number retired in Reds franchise history. Well, they could use some of Clue's muscle right about now. Still looking for their first hit. Reds had a scoring chance in the first. Winker led off the game, reaching on an error by the center fielder. Peraza butted him to third, but then Pivetta got Votto on a broken bat liner to third and struck out Jeanette. He has set down 9 in a row since the error. 4 strikeouts, and now the 3-1 on Peraza. That ball hit hard in a deep left center field, and that ball is up against the wall. Peraza can run, and he'll pull the chute with a hard turn at second base and a double by Peraza, his first extra base hit of this season.
And the hardest hit ball that he has had all this season, without a doubt. He's a guy that has shown some power in the past. He loves the pitch down and in. I mean, that is his one power slot that pitchers are trying to stay away from. That ball hit really hard on a line. The Reds get another leadoff man on second base.
Again, the big shift put on defensively for Votto. Swinging a foul ball out of play. He had 2 hits in a series opener. Would have had 2 more were it not for the second baseman playing probably about, what, 25 feet beyond the infield dirt. There you see Hernandez out there. Votto hit 2 balls right at him. This one down the right field line, but curving foul. And the fan threw it back because it was Votto. How about that? They started booing the fan for keeping the ball, and he threw it back. This is Philadelphia. Anybody else hits it, he'd have kept it. Votto hits it, not a chance. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Joey.
British Columbia versus Ontario in this at bat.
Well, some certainly remember. There might be some of the younger fans out there watching the game tonight that may not. When the WBC first started, Votto played for Team Canada.
I'm not sure what's going on in this at bat. Every time Votto gets settled in, Pivetta steps off the rubber. When Pivetta's ready to go, Joey takes a lap.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Votto. Runner at second base. Started to and took the fastball high in the strike zone. The last World Baseball Classic, Pivetta pitched for Team Canada. So here comes a 2-2. Breaking ball. And this one will find a hole in the right center field to hit. Peraza being waved around. He will score. And the Reds are on the board. It's a 2-1 game. Votto drives in his 3rd run of the season.
Joey Votto has hit so many balls hard to the right side that have been eaten up by the shift. But he finds a hole right here. Good curveball by Pivetta. Just followed it all the way in was Joey Votto and put the barrel on it and found that little slot in that shift to the right side. Got to feel good to finally have one get in there.
Scooter Gennett struck out his first time up swinging. And there's a fastball in the outside corner, strike 1. Philadelphia 2-run home run by J.P. Crawford off Luis Castillo in the 2nd inning. And now a double by Peraza, single by Votto, and the lead chopped in half. That is a foul ball. Very good hitter's ballpark, especially once the weather warms up, and Gennett could certainly attest to that in the 14 games that he's played here. Very good success to the right side. Hernandez able to knock it down, but that's it. 3 straight Reds reach base, double, single, single to open up this 4th inning against Pivetta.
They're playing around snug to the bag a little bit, looking for a double play. That opens up the right side, and Scooter's able to get it off the glove and kind of keep the line moving.
2 on, nobody out for Devin Mesoraco. He struck out swinging his only trip to the plate tonight. First pitch breaking ball is just off the outside corner, perhaps low.
Well, a lot of breaking balls here tonight from Pivetta. I mean, Devin Mesoraco's got to be looking fastball here. You miss with the first pitch breaking ball. A couple guys on base. You don't want to get walked. And he gets another curveball.
Mesoraco had a nice spring this year. He got a chance to work out during the wintertime without rehabbing an injury. Hit a home run, knocked in 7, and proved that he was ready to go. Tonight is only his 3rd start in this young season. Got a 2-0 fastball there and fouls it straight back. Of course, last year, only 39 starts on the disabled list 3 different times. And has basically missed each of the last 3 seasons with multiple surgeries. Ball in the air to deep right center field. And to the warning track, and making the play is Williams. Both runners will tag and advance standing up. Solid contact there by Mesoraco, and he's able to at least move the runners up the trail.
And eliminate the double play combination that they had.
It's a big chance now for Urban.
And he doesn't have to get a base hit. I mean, the Phillies are going to play the corner guy in, at least at first base, Santana. Michael Franco plays deep at 3rd. But they're giving up a run on a ground ball to either the shortstop or the second baseman.
Tonight is Urban's 3rd start of this year, like Mesoraco, but for Urban, all 3 have come on this road trip. This will bring in a run to tie the game. So Urban just puts the ball in play, bringing in Votto. And it's a 2-2 contest here in the 4th inning. Jeanette on to 3rd base.
I'll take that all day long if I'm the Reds right there, to play the infield back. Allow the other team to score the tying run on a simple ground ball.
Now Goslin with a go-ahead run at 3rd. Goslin hit the ball extremely hard his first time up. A line drive caught by Williams at right. He looks at strike 1. Goslin does have a home run this season. He's driven in 2. 2 hits in 10 at bats. This should be the final out of the inning. But a good one for the Redlegs. They tie the game. 3 hits, 2-2 after 3.5.
together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. We got a bit of an update on Eugenio Suarez before the game. The Reds feared when they first fractured his thumb and got the diagnosis that it would be at least a 6-week injury as far as resuming baseball activities. But before the game today, Brian Price said it's actually not as bad as they thought, and he could be back in less than a month. If that happens, that is very, very good news.
And of course, they got Suarez back to be under the medical care of one Dr. Timothy Kremchek. He left right after the game, did Suarez, from Pittsburgh to fly back to Cincinnati. I tell you, those guys do an incredible job up there at Beacon. I feel like I've been in there more than most of these players have been in there since moving back to town, between broken bones, knee surgeries, falling apart at the seams in the 50s now, Mr. Welsh.
He's got you back upright and walking around without a limp. That's pretty good.
Cruising.
Well, he was so good when he got a hit of headers last year, and small sample size, only 35 on that in the denominator there. But he puts Michael Franco away.
He tried to hold up on the swing and couldn't do it. Number 3 for Castillo.
That's a great example of missing your spot entirely. I mean, by missing it like by 2 feet, you're still getting a good result.
Here's Williams. He had a line drive right at Scooter Gennett his first time up. Phillies have hit some balls hard in this game through the first 2 innings. Now, Castillo, after getting that great play made by Billy Hamilton up against the wall in center field, a ball hit by Hernandez to end the second. The last 4 batters through the very heart of the order. I mean, he's mowed him down. So maybe starting to get it rolling here tonight for Luis Castillo. Votto will take it himself and slides into the bag in front of Williams for the second out of the inning. So you talk to any great first baseman and they'll tell you, if you don't have to throw it, don't throw it. Too many things can go wrong.
Well, a first baseman always has to be ready to take over in case the pitcher is going to be late getting there. And I'm not saying that Castillo was late that time, but if you stumble off the mound or if you're a little bit slow getting off of there and that runner is busting it down the line, sometimes that pitcher will not get there. And rather than have the ball, the pitcher, and the runner get there all at the same time, take it yourself.
Alfaro, the catcher, struck out his first at bat. We're tied at 2. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning in Philadelphia. Reds back home tomorrow night. They're only in town for 4 days. They'll play night games, 6:40 start times again. Thursday and Friday against the Cardinals. Saturday and Sunday will be afternoon games at 1:10 each day.
Well, the weather finally going to really be nice this weekend.
Really nice. Temperatures in the mid 70s to the upper 70s, lots of sunshine. So if you don't have plans over the weekend, we'd love to have you at Great American Ballpark. Emergency swing there on the breaking ball from Castillo, and Alfaro barely able to make contact, but he does, and he's hanging around at 1 ball 2 strikes.
Well, the observation I said early on about Castillo not pitching inside, he's completely changed that now, and it could have just been the game plan. to go away the first time through the order, second time through, come on inside a little bit more. Alfaro has tremendous power, but he'll swing and miss a lot. But when he connects, that's a pitch he chased for strike 3 his last time up.
We were talking about the Cardinals coming into town. They're off to a very slow start. They lost again today to the Milwaukee Brewers, so they dropped that home series to Craig Counsell's team, and the Cardinals have won 5 while losing 7. Blew him away with a fastball at 96. Castillo's now retired the last 7. He has 4 strikeouts. We're tied at 2 at the end of 4. First 20,000 fans through the gate, you'll get a Tucker Barnhart Gold Glove bobblehead, thanks to Coca-Cola. You can be there for as low as $12 for tickets. Visit Reds.com. Two-2 game. Castillo starts things here in the Cincinnati 5th inning. First pitch swinging in the air over near the stands and about 4 rows out of play. Castillo, his first time up, struck out swinging. It's got 3 straight hits, producing a pair of runs in their last at bat in the 4th to tie this game up after Philadelphia got a 2-run home run by J.P. Crawford in the 2nd inning. Pivetta has not walked a batter. He struck out 4. The same holds true for Castillo. And now make it 5 strikeouts for Pivetta.
This kid's got one of the better curveballs you're going to find. You know, and last year when he struggled, Tom, and when I say struggled, he had some good games, but he always seemed to throw about 100 pitches. He'd get through 5 innings. You look and all of a sudden the pitch count's way up there. A lot of young pitchers go through that. And they had him study tapes and film of Justin Verlander to see how Verlander used his stuff, because they think his stuff is very similar, and how Verlander would elevate the fastball late in the count when you're ahead with a couple of strikes and try to get a swing and a miss upstairs like that. You know, you talk about the use of analytics. I don't think that analytics has caught up yet with what you can learn from video. And not only watching your own videos. I mean, there are a lot of guys that critique themselves. Other guys will put loops together of their best swings or their best pitches to kind of build their confidence. But I think you can also look at other pitchers or batters that kind of fall into your same profile. If you're, say, a big left-handed hitting slugger, well, why not call up a bunch of other big left-handed hitting sluggers and see what they do, especially historical ones who were great players.
I remember reading those that were whispering around his last year or two in Detroit that Verlander was starting to lose it a little bit. I don't know what happened when he got to Houston, but he hadn't lost a thing.
Maybe he left it in Houston.
Or maybe, because he has been unbelievable after joining them last year.
You know, those guys that have reached the pinnacle the way he has, I mean, he at one time was just one of the best of the best. You just can't write them off too early, because it's usually some kind of a fatigue or an injury-related setback.
And I'll tell you another thing that I'm convinced happened, and he would never admit this, and very few players ever would, especially when you play your entire career in one town and that organization's been really good to you, which the Tigers were really good to Verlander. But after playing on a lot of good teams for a long time, they have not had good teams. And I'm convinced that there are times when that veteran player just needs to get back into the game again of postseason action, contending baseball action. Swing and a miss by Hamilton.
I think they're hoping the same thing happens to Garrett Cole. Pretty good at bat, really, for Hamilton. He fouled off a few before he finally got a fastball that was a well-placed heater by Pivetta, and he's just a little bit late on it.
Six strikeouts in the game without a walk. So this young man this season has 18 strikeouts so far in 14 innings and has only walked 2. Winker robbed of a hit by Hernandez. Oh my, what a play made by Cesar Hernandez, ranging far to the glove side, the pirouette, and enough on the throw to get Winker. Beautifully done.
To a slow start in the season, but today against the Giants, 4 at-bats, couple of hits. You look at the numbers, and the D-backs won 7-3, and as I said, off to a slow start overall, but one of the best hitters in the game when he's going good for the D-backs, Bally.
Oh, Jim Day, it never ends, does it? Never ends. Yeah, that's a scary thing. We were flipping through some of the teams and looking into some box scores today. That's one of the scary things if you're playing inside the National League West. Arizona, I mean, Goldschmidt is not the only one that is having a horrible time at the plate, much like the Cleveland Indians. But they just keep winning because the pitching is so good. Arizona is now, what, 9-3. Indians not quite that good. They're leading tonight 5-1 in the seventh. They would go to 7-5 with a win. Man, that National League West, that has become the division in baseball the last couple of years. Of course, both of the wild card teams came out of that division a year ago. And of course, the team with the best record in the National League who wound up winning the National League pennant, the Dodgers, in the NL West. Crawford hit the ball 8 miles his first time up, a 2-run home run to the second deck in right. It was only his third hit in 27 at bats on the season, and it came on an 0-2 pitch. But Castillo, over the last 2 2/3 innings, has been a different pitcher than the one who gave up that home run. In fact, that was the last base runner against Castillo. And he'll retire Crawford this time for the second out in the Philadelphia fifth. After the 2-run home run, Hernandez came to the plate in the second inning. And it looked like this ball might leave the yard before this play by Billy.
He went a long way, more than 100 feet to make that grab. Ended up banging his head on the pole at the very end of that. Stayed in the ball game, no problem.
He heard you. Says, yep, I'm good.
I'm okay.
Straight up.
And he's not deterred one bit about, going back on the ball. I mean, he continues to play very shallow out there. And there's a lot of green space behind Hamilton, but this is the kind of outfield that he really loves to play in. I asked him last year, I said, well, what are your favorite places to go play? And he said, I like Coors Field. It's the biggest one out there. And people like me who run, they like to run in big places.
This ball's in the air to deep right. On a 1-1 pitch, it is Hernandez into the second deck. And Philly back on top 3-2. That's 4 home runs now given up by Luis Castillo in his first 14+ innings.
Both of them tonight by left-handed hitters, and they were both absolute bombs. Fastball that starts in off the plate and ends up. That wasn't it. We're going to show it again here. Same spot. Ends up interfering. Oh.
First pitch swinging Kingery out in front of the plate, and he's retired.
What they do, rev up a fresh box of Titleist?
It's funny, the guy that runs the elevator was telling me he's walking around a stadium during BP and said he's never seen the ball in April flying out of the ballpark like it was tonight. He's right. Alrighty, Brian, thank you very much. Looking forward to going up there to Target Field. That'll be the final weekend of this month of April. Reds will be there for a quick 3-game set to take on the Twins, who came off an unbelievable year last year. They went from losing nearly 100 to winning over 90 and getting into the wild card game. Jose Peraza to lead things off, and a breaking ball is on the outside corner, a strike.
Well, he got into a hitter's count his last time. He got a pitch on the inner third of the plate and really walloped it. Trying to get that batting average an inch up a little bit. Peraza got off to such a horrendous start.
You know about Minnesota, they did lose over 100 games 2 years ago. I thought it was close to 100. They lost 103 before winning 85 the very next year. So they're expected to be a contender again. All right, Peraza now looks at a breaking ball, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, he's gone to that well for that breaking ball 4 times now in this at bat. Oh, Pivetta thought he had strike 3. He was heading towards over to third base to watch him throw the ball around the infield. Go back to the slider.
And Peraza, second straight hit.
Well, the theory about seeing more fastballs when you're hitting in front of Joey Votto, not holding true at all tonight for Jose Peraza. He has seen 4 out of 5 pitches, make it 5 out of 6 in this at bat, that were breaking balls. The last one was a slider. Pivetta got it up. He launches it into right center field to get a leadoff base hit. Now Votto. They're giving Votto really a base hit if he wants to get the ball on the left side. A dribbler, a bunt, a little bloop of any kind. Maikel Franco, the third baseman, is right here. And you've got a lot of ground on the left side of the infield. So the question you asked last night, Tom, about, well, can a batter, if he wants to, just figure out how to do that? Well, if there's anybody you would think that could have enough bat control, it would be Joey Votto.
You know, for a guy who is really fast, and make no mistake about it, Peraza is really fast. Nobody's Billy Hamilton fast. But there aren't a lot of players in baseball that run better than Peraza. But when you watch him on the bases, he just doesn't strike you as a guy who has a sense of urgency about trying to make something happen on the bases. He has his hands on his knees a lot. You know, you watch him and he just doesn't even look like he's a threat to run. And when you run that well, you should be a threat to run.
You know, in my opinion, even if you're not going to run, look like you're going to run.
I mean, watch him when he takes this lead. Now, they may be telling him drop anchor here with Votto at the plate.
Oh, I'm sure they have. But it doesn't mean you can't get a good lead off and put it in the back of the pitcher's mind.
And there he goes. Swing and a miss, and a throw down to second, and there you go. So how about that? Peraza lifts those hands off the knees and takes off.
They were looking for a curveball count. They end up getting a fastball, and Alfaro's got a good arm. He's got one of the lowest pop times in baseball so far this year. He did that last night on a stolen base by Billy Hamilton. And if you're wondering what a pop time is, and you hear that when it's concerning a catcher, it's basically the pop of the glove when he receives the pitch to the pop of the glove that the second baseman or the shortstop has when he receives the throw from the catcher. And of course, the shorter that time, the quicker means the quicker the catcher got rid of the ball, the faster he threw it to second base, and the harder it is to steal a base.
But the one thing it doesn't tell you is where is the location of the throw to second base.
True.
So, you know, the pop of the middle infielder covering the bag, but if he's catching it up above his head or around his ear, if he's having to go the other way across the bag.
Well, here was the one we were talking about last night. Pop time at 1.91 is the fastest recorded so far in baseball this year. Threw the ball nearly 90 miles an hour.
And
89.
And that's on the nose.
Yeah. But what it also doesn't tell you is how slow or fast the pitcher is in delivering the ball to the plate. And that's usually the biggest factor in a stolen base.
Peraza picks up his second steal of this season. It's 2-2 to Votto. And he shoots it into left field, a base hit. Peraza being waved around, and he will be out at the plate. What a throw by Kingery. Played on one hop by Alfaro. And so the Reds making a bid to tie this game up. Cut down at home.
Really good play by Kingery right there, because Peraza read that perfectly. I mean, he knew off the bat that that ball was not going to be caught, and he took off, and that's just a good defensive play.
We saw Adam Duvall make a lot of these last year, led the league in outfield assists.
I'm not sure if Peraza was thinking about sliding right there, but by the time the catcher got the ball, Alfaro, and went into the baseline, there was no room for him to slide anyway.
Nothing in 2 on Scooter Gennett. So it's been the duo of Peraza and Votto that have made things happen offensively here tonight. Peraza sacrifice bunt, a double, a single, a stolen base. And now Votto, after a line out in the first inning with a runner at third and 1 out, has knocked in a run, scored a run, and has 2 singles. Scooter gone swinging on that high fastball for the second time tonight. And that's strikeout number 7 for Nick Pivetta.
This is what I was talking about when they referred to Justin Verlander video to watch him and how Verlander would go upstairs with a 4-seamer. They like to see Pivetta do that a little bit more.
So now Mesoraco hit the ball a long way to the deepest part of right center field his last time up. A ball caught a step in front of the wall by the right fielder Nick Williams. Philadelphia 3, the Reds 2. We're in the top of the 6th inning in the final game of this 3-game set. And a roll to short. Crawford will play it to first, and that's all for the Reds. They made a run at it, but it's still 3-2 Philadelphia thanks to the throw by Kingery.
chosen as a family to dance on the field with the Fanatics. So 3 daughters said, terrific. Mom saying terrific, but then the public address announcer said we have one more family member that would like to join, and here comes Dad, Air Force Major Robert Routon, coming home from deployment, surprising the family. And how about the reaction of the 3 daughters and wife? You know, you see this all over the country in different ways, and it never, ever gets old.
I tell you what, I mean, that's the second time now I've seen it live and watching it again, and I mean, if that doesn't bring tears to your eyes, and it does to mine, then you're just simply not alive. You know, that stuff just takes your breath away. All those months, those daughters have been without their dad, wondering if he's safe. I'm sure sometimes when you get to be their age, teenage daughters, it'll pass through your mind, am I ever going to see him again? Is he ever going to come home? Mom having to raise the kids herself, dad away. She's worried to death about him. She misses her husband. And to have that moment, wow. That's certainly one grateful family rolling out of here tonight. Right now, the Phillies have given their fans a 3-2 lead as Philadelphia bats against Castillo here in the last of the 6th. All 3 Philadelphia runs have come via the long ball, and really from a couple of guys you just don't expect it from. I mean, Crawford has good power, but he's just been off to such a terrible start. 2 hits in his first 26 at bats. He hits a 2-strike pitch for a 2-run home run. Good play by Peraza. He's having a good night tonight. And then the home run by Cesar Hernandez to break the 2-2 tie in the 5th.
Ready to get lucky.
Is that your soundtrack, Tom?
It is. I actually have the headphones sitting right next to the microphone on this headset, so I apologize.
I thought you were more of a Barry White kind of guy.
Well, we were listening to some of that in between innings. They have the Kiss Cam going, and if you got the Kiss Cam going and you don't have Barry White on, then you've missed the boat. 2-1 to count on Carlos Santana. Swing and a miss. Santana's hitting the 2-hole the first 2 games of this series. And without Hoskins in there tonight, they slip him into the cleanup spot. He's 0 for 2. Votto will feed Castillo this time. 2 down. April in the OHIO returns to Great American Ballpark tomorrow. The Reds in that 4-game series begins with St. Louis. Reds Live kicks everything off at 6. A game coverage to follow at 6:30. And again, if you're coming, it's a 6:40 start tomorrow night. April in the OHIO presented by Menards. Be welcoming him the newest addition to our Reds and Fox Sports Ohio television team tomorrow night, Shannon Ford. Many of you may have seen her on our opening day coverage. And that first weekend series, she was in town visiting with Jim Day, sort of learning the ropes. And Pre-game show, producer Kent Dreamweaver and Ronnie Millinor and company. She'll be in Jim Day's spot tomorrow night, and he'll be in this spot tomorrow night. Castillo, a 1-2-3-6. 3-2 Philadelphia. We have live mascot races, face painters, a lot going on, and in celebration of Jackie Robinson Day. This is really cool. Kids 14 and younger receive a Jackie Robinson Fathead, thanks to Noodles World Kitchen. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Those starters have been sharp, each allowing 5 hits, not a single walk in the game tonight, 11 strikeouts by the two combined, 7 of the 11 by this Philadelphia right-hander Pavetta.
Pavetta going out there for the 7th inning. This is the first time this year that Luis Castillo has pitched past 5 innings.
Now you and I were talking, that's fair ball, and Urban is thrown out. You know, the Reds have action in their bullpen. It looks like Amir Garrett is just now beginning to get loose. The pitcher spot is due up 3rd in the inning. And so you start to ask the question, with your team down a run, what do you do with Luis Castillo? It almost appears as though they've already made the decision. You rarely ever see a pitching coach come walking by a player like Mac Jenkins just did and shake his hand if he's going to stay in the game.
Wow, that does not happen. No handshakes till you're out.
Cliff Pennington is already standing in the on-deck circle. You know, this is one of those decisions where, you know, managers, you're not going to get an overwhelming majority in one camp or the other about whether you let the guy hit. Again, it's something we talked about last night. Situations often will make that decision for you. You know, for example, if the Reds get the first 2 on in the inning, I mean, some might say, well, leave him in the bunt. There's no way. They're going to send up somebody to try to get some runs on the board. But if there are 2 outs and nobody on, some might say, well, is a pinch hitter going to come up there and hit a home run? Well, he'd have a better chance than a pitcher would, but maybe you want to leave Castillo in the game.
Well, anytime you go to the bullpen, there's a certain sense of the unknown. Now, some bullpens are a little bit more dependable than others, but it could also be that you're looking for certain pitchers to get into the game, and it's been a while for Amir Garrett. Maybe you get him a touch.
Of course, Garrett's been under the weather during this road trip. We've talked about that already. Garrett and Winker, among others. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Gosselin, 0 for 2. Off the end of the bat and coming in to get his Herrera. He got a good jump.
You know, when an outfielder gets a good jump, Tom, especially a center fielder, we see it from where we're sitting up in about the 3rd or 4th level. See a great view of the entire field from behind home plate, but you can see the center fielder kind of leaning, almost moving as the pitch is underway. And as soon as the batter swings, he's almost in full stride. And that's the way the Philly center fielder, Odubel Herrera, was on that particular fly ball.
Gabe Kapler, the Philadelphia manager, comes out, has a couple of words with his starter, Pivetta. We certainly gave Kapler, you know, his props last night when he made the decision, and it wasn't an easy decision. You know, was he going to leave in Aaron Nola? He could have hit for him in the 7th inning. He didn't. And that was with a runner on and a 2-1 lead. He let him go back out there for the 8th inning. And now here he is with Pivetta against a pinch hitter, Pennington. And he's going to let him try, or Duvall, I beg your pardon. They switched it up. It was originally Pennington, and Duvall comes up there.
Yeah, I think if Gosling got on, it may have been Pennington. Here you're looking for, as you said earlier, the long ball. And Duvall coming out of the on-deck circle looking curveball and got one on the first pitch, just a little ahead of it.
That is the shortstop, Crawford. He throws out Duvall, and Pivetta, 7 outstanding innings here tonight. 2 good-looking young pitchers we've seen from the Phils the last 2 games.
With Skip and Shannon weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern, only on FS1 and streaming on Fox Sports Go. Let's take a look at some news and notes around the league. Anthony Rizzo placed on the 10-day DL with a back injury. First DL stint of his 8-year career. There's a backstory to that. We'll get to that in a moment. Indians 6-5 record and winning tonight despite no starter hitting over 200 so far in the season. And Giancarlo Stanton, what a debut he had with the Yankees, but since then has cooled off and cooled off mightily. As far as Rizzo goes, he is quoted as saying is blaming a hotel bed in Cincinnati for his bad back. He said, quote, "I think the next time I go to Cincinnati, I'll sleep on the floor. I just have to take care of myself better." But he's had back issues on and off. Those hotel beds in the Natty, I guess.
Oh well. Cubs still have to make a couple of more trips back to Cincinnati. Here's Amir Garrett. Garrett has pitched in 2 games on this road trip spanning 4 innings, has allowed 2 hits, no runs, no walks, has struck out 3. And he just ate up Williams with that, and a little pop fly falls in front of Jesse Winker. Peraza did everything he could to get there. That's just bad luck for Garrett.
Good pitch, bad result. Ball got right in on the trademark right there. Williams thinks it's a pop fly out. Perfect placement. So now after one left-hander, he's going to see, Garrett that is, a couple of right-handers, Alfaro, and then the pinch hitter will be Rhys Hoskins.
Reds down a run. Philadelphia batting here in the 7th inning.
Nice block by Mesoraco on that one. Should even say block. It was a good pick. Got it nice and clean.
What we saw last year during his 3 different stints up and down with the Reds, Garrett does not possess a very good move over to first base. Tries that snap throw frequently, and you do that, you have very little on the throw more times than not. That's a wicked pitch right there.
Made even wickeder by the reception. Oh, the backswing and then the other backswing is what finally clipped the mask of Mesoraco. I can see why he went down. Williams not a base stealing threat. He's got one in his career. He's been thrown out twice. As soon as I say it, there he goes.
Well, the same thing happened earlier. We were talking about Peraza. I mean, we're not sitting up here making this stuff up. We've watched Peraza for the last year and a half, and we've noticed that when he's over at first base, he's got his hands on his knees a lot, and he's not a guy that gets on base a lot and doesn't run a lot. And tonight, as soon as you bring it up, off he goes and easily steals a base.
And they force Garrett to throw to first base.
Breaking ball again down and in, and again Mesoraco, if not picking it cleanly, having to smother it and keep it in front of him. 2-2 on Alfaro.
Always the safest way.
Three runs, 6 hits for Philadelphia. Hernandez broke a 2-2 tie in the 5th after the Reds had tied the game in the 4th. How many times have we said that the early part of this year? The Reds will score in the very next half inning. The opposition does the same thing. Frequently. Came with a fastball, and Alfaro is ready for it. Fouls it straight back at 94 miles per hour. Castillo, by far his best start of this season in just his 3rd outing of the year. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs. Did not walk a batter. He struck out 5. He allowed a pair of home runs.
Very encouraging.
Mesoraco is going to be bruised up from shoulder to shoulder, forearm to forearm.
I think that's the way he likes it. I mean, it's like a ball blocking drill right now.
He has taken a beating just during this at bat alone. He's been whacked in the head, by the batter with his bat. He's had 3 or 4 of those exact same pitches in the dirt. And this one a little cleaner, and it's a swing and a miss for strike 3.
What a great call, though, by Mesoraco, and Amir Garrett went right with him. After bouncing the sliders down and in, he went with a changeup right here. Just had great arm action, pulled the string, and got a strikeout. Good call.
Mac Jenkins out there to visit with his entire infield along with the battery.
Going to deliver the scouting report. Which is basically for Hoskins, keep the ball down. He loves the ball up in the zone, and plenty of power. Off to a very good start.
So Pivetta, a strong 7 innings, allows 5 hits and 2 runs. He does not walk about it and strikes out 7. 2 excellent young pitchers going toe-to-toe and each having a very good outing. .42 plate appearances so far this year, on base percentage of up to 50% of the time he's come to the plate. Young man has reached base. 2 home runs, 9 batted in. One ball, 1 strike.
Here's your decision pitch. 2-2 count. Gonna throw over to first base.
That's all for Hoskins. Back-to-back strikeouts for Garrett after the bloop single by Williams to begin the inning.
I think that was a slider right there. He got the first strikeout on a changeup, and this also off speed, but Hoskins swings right through that slider, and Garrett 2/3 of the way out of this inning.
And he'll face a left-handed batting J.P. Crawford, who clubbed a 2-run home run off Castillo in the 2nd inning. Big swing and a miss here, and he bounced out to the second baseman Jeanette in the 5th. Reds will have Hamilton, Winker, Peraza against the Philadelphia bullpen in the top of the 8th inning. Soft liner, and here we go in the 8th. Reds down a run. Thank you very much. And here we go. Reds in the 8th inning against a new pitcher, Adam Morgan. We saw him in a series opener out of the Philadelphia bullpen. He'll turn Hamilton around to bat right-handed. Morgan did not look good here on Monday night.
Well, he's walked a lot of batters. I mean, he's been in 6 games, 5 innings, and he's walked 4.
And he walked 2 of them here the other night. This is going to be a tight play. Crawford cuts it loose. What a play by Crawford. Considering the runner, that's as good a play as a shortstop can make in a Major League Baseball game.
Well, I think that's one reason why they really like Crawford in this lineup. He is scuffling early on, except for tonight, of course, at the bat with hit the home run tonight, but he can make these defensive plays right here, and that's worth a base hit or 2 during a game hit with the bat. To keep Billy Hamilton off the base paths.
That's a big time play. Reds were debating, or at least taking a look at that play on the call at first, and apparently the first base umpire got it right. It would be Ben May. And Jesse Winker banks one into center field, a base hit. I don't know if the Reds at this point have much bench left to consider running for Winker. Now you've got big hitters coming up here, but you're in a 1-run game in the 8th inning. You know, if they had Schebler on the active roster, I don't know, maybe a Blandino, but they're short on outfielders to begin with. Because Winker he's just slow. I mean, you can't even say it's average speed.
It's going to take a couple of hits to score him.
Yeah. Or one in the seats where he can jog. Down the right field line, and it's not a play. Peraza's had a very good game. 2 for 2, has scored a run, stolen a base, put down a sacrifice bunt, made a couple of very nice plays at short. Look out. That bat goes flying over the screen and into the stands. They get a force out at second base. They have those protective screens we've talked about to prevent foul balls from hitting fans in the stands so close to the action. That time the head of the bat went flying over the screen and into the stands. And thank God everybody's all right. All right, here we go. This is the at-bat of the night. Votto had a chance to drive in a run in the first inning. Had his bat broken on a soft liner to third base. Since then, a couple of rockets. Knocked in a run with a single to right center, scored in the 4th. And then a single to left field in the 6th inning. A play that was made on one hop by the left fielder Scott Kingery, and he threw out Jose Peraza at home plate with none out in that inning. Breaking ball in there, strike one to Joey Votto. That will certainly be a question that, Billy Hatcher will answer the question after the game. They want to find him and ask him about it, or they'll ask Brian Price about it.
Right now, though, the Phillies are playing a prevent defense, no doubles. Outfielders playing very deep. Actually, in the exchange of runners between Jesse Winker and then Peraza, the Reds get a break right there by having Peraza now at first base instead of Winker.
Straight up in the air and waiting on it, Herrera. The inning is over. Reds still down a run.
Descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Cheer on the Redlegs. They take on the Cardinals Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoons. And don't forget Saturday, thanks to Coca-Cola, the first 20,000 fans through the gates get the Tucker Barnhart Gold Glove bobblehead. You can be there for as low as $12. Log on to Reds.com for tickets. Cliff Pennington will come into the game to play shortstop. And now on the mound, first time we've seen him in a while, is Raisel Iglesias.
He's had 3 full days off since pitching in the 1-win game the Reds had in Pittsburgh. That 7-4 victory on the 7th. Picked up a save, his second save of the season in that outing.
Another excellent outing by Amir Garrett. The only hit he allowed was that pop-up that fell in between Winker and Peraza. And then he retired the next 3. So the beat goes on for Amir Garrett. 3 games on this road trip, spanning 5 innings. Allows 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and punches out 5 on this trip. Big fella named Reese begins to crank it up, the closer for this Philadelphia team. We saw him come on and notch his first save of the year, working a scoreless 9th inning in the 6-5 Philadelphia win. That was Monday night. one away.
Your kitchen.
You're looking around the corner to the Reds' 9th inning. It'll be Jeanette, Mesoraco, Irvin, then Goslin, and then Pennington if we get that far.
I'm not sure what Kingery thinks about that first pitch he saw. He's never faced Iglesias. Iglesias dropped down and gave him a sidearm 96 on the black. This kid made the play of the night. Oh, never saw one of those either.
Of course, it was only 1 year ago where Raisel Iglesias two years ago was the opening day starter for the Cincinnati Reds. That was a game plan with Iglesias, just like that was a game plan with the Aroldis Chapman. And of course, not every single game plan is executed the way you'd like it to. I mean, the Reds have hit the lottery by signing 2 Cuban-born players defecting and coming to America in Chapman and Iglesias. I mean, you can't do any better than that.
No, you're right. The pitching signs that they've had from Cuba have been right on the button. He'd like to pull the trigger on that, but he couldn't find it.
Have the lock on it.
Safety.
That's right. And then blew him away on a fastball at 95 miles per hour where he dropped down a little bit.
Now this is why you'd love to get Iglesias in the game more often. Unfortunately, he only comes in to get, you know, a little bit of a tune-up now and then if your team's not winning. He's got some of the most dominant stuff you will find in the major leagues.
Odubel Herrera. An infield hit in the first inning on a hard hit ball. I mean, it was a rocket, and Goslin made a nice play going near the bag just to knock it down. The Phillies already had a runner on, so he held him to a single. 2 in a row missed by Iglesias. He has since popped to short left and grounded to the shortstop. Boy, take a look at that right front foot. I mean, you can see nearly the entire bottom of his shoe from the pitcher's mound.
Well, he only starts off there, but it is one of the more unusual setups that you'll see maybe ever. He's digging the inside of that foot right into the ground, and then he brings his leg up at a big kind of leg kick and then kind of brings himself back to square. All about timing.
You know, the one in center field is where you can see the bottom of the shoe. There you see it. If there ever is going to be a pitch clock put in Major League Baseball, Herrera may be forced to retire. because he's pretty much regarded universally around the National League as the guy who takes more time in between pitches as a batter than any other player. And there are a few other ones out there.
And it's not as bad tonight as it has been.
And that's all for the Phillies here in the 8th, a perfect 8th for Iglesias. All right, Scooter to lead it off, down a run in the 9th. J.P. Crawford to the second deck and a 2-0 Philadelphia lead. But the Reds would tie the game in the 4th inning. Votto, a run-scoring single to bring in Peraza, who led off the inning with a double. After an infield hit, it was a ground out by Urban to tie the game at 2. But then in the very next half inning, with 2 outs on a 1-1 pitch, Cesar Hernandez hits his second home run, and that one in the second deck as well. Then you go to the 6th inning, nobody out. Peraza, the runner at second base after a single and a steal. And he is waved home on the base hit by Votto, and Kingery makes a perfect one-hop throw to Alfaro. And the Reds' bid to try and tie this game ended right there. They've been very quiet ever since then. In fact, since that single by Joey Votto in the 6th, the Reds only have 1 hit. Now Reese is the closer. And we told you he saved the game here on Monday night. He allowed 1 hit in 1 inning with a couple of strikeouts, his first save of the season.
Fastball splitter. He's been a workhorse the last couple of years for the Phillies. 74 games last year.
Down the left field line, hit pretty well, and that is off the top of the wall. That is a double for Scooter Gennett, missing by inches, tying the game with an opposite field home run. And Brian Price wants to make sure.
Well, Gennett got a pitch up, and this is a perfect example of what good hitters will tell you: never try to pull a high pitch. I mean, he just went with it because they've been calling outside pitches on him all series long. That ball up and out of the strike zone, and he banged it right off the top of the wall. Is that a home run?
You know, this is one of the ballparks that umpires have had one tremendous challenge, even looking on replay, of being able to tell if it's a home run or not. This is a crew chief review. So Brian just said, you know, came out and said it. This was the original replay system in baseball. Fair or foul on balls that are home runs, and whether a ball is a home run or not. All right, here we go. Here's the verdict.
Staying at second base.
Yep, second base. Call confirmed. It is a 2-base hit for Jeanette. See, they have that first sort of screen fencing there, and that is still part of the wall. They have the flowers behind it. It used to be they didn't have that screened area, so they put it up there now to make it easier for the umpires on a review. So if it hits that thing first, it's still not a home run. A home run has to go over the top of that first screen you see before the flower bed. That's all part of the wall.
I just don't know why every ballpark that has an area like that that's in question doesn't put a basket in. It's worked well for a long time in Chicago.
And now Mesoraco a base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third this time. So now the Reds in business here against Neris. A double by Jeanette, a single by Mesoraco, and the Reds are down a run with nobody out. Now the Reds will bring in Blandino to run for Mesoraco. They still have Tucker Barnhart obviously available on the bench. All right, Irvin the batter. He came up, you may remember, with a runner at third base in the fourth inning and hit a ground ball to the shortstop, which plated then the tying run. Runners at first and third with nobody out. Reds down a run in the top of the ninth, trying to rally against a Philadelphia closer. Holds that ball a long time, looking over his left shoulder at Blandino.
Neris was the pitcher that Brian Price complained about the other night, that was taking his signs with his hand in the glove with his ball in the glove. And he said you can't do that. The runner's got to know where the ball is. And now he's taking that sign with the hand in the ball in the hand, back on his back leg.
They appeal. He did not go around. You have Goslin due up next. And I believe is that. We'll worry about that here in a minute. Here's a 1-0. And it's down low, ball two. That is Tucker Barnhart now standing in the on-deck circle. Two and 0 on Irvin. Infield in on the left side. 2 balls and a strike. The second baseman is cheating very close to the bag. The shortstop and a third baseman roughly playing even with the third base bag. 2 and 1 on Irvin. Driving into center field. It'll be a base hit. 3 straight hits here in the Reds' 9th inning. Irvin ties the game with a single, and how about this? Now first and second and nobody out.
Well, 3 hard hit balls in this inning as well. Well struck by Phillip Irvin. He drove a run in earlier in this ball game on a ground ball to shortstop. And Herrera unable to hold on to that ball. He was able to knock it down. So the Reds tie here in the top of the 9th, and still nobody out.
Tucker Barnhart digging in. He shows a bunt. That doesn't mean he's up there to bunt.
Well, I think he probably is. At least the Phillies feel like he is. They had the wheel play on that time where the shortstop was going to race through the third base bag. The third baseman comes crashing in, and they want to get the lead runner. It's a forced play at third. And this is where teams really play ultra aggressive defensively.
One and 0 the count. Barnhart pops it up foul. Phillies have action out in their bullpen as their closer has given it up. Victor Arano, right-hander, cranking it up. So no win for Pivetta, no loss for Castillo. The Reds are trying to get a victory. Barnhart already shortens up. And a one-hopper will get it done. Barnhart the sacrifice. And the Reds have the go-ahead run. Blandino standing at third base. At second base, it is Irvin after the game-tying single. And now the batter will be Pennington, who came on defensively as part of the double switch when Garrett entered the game. Excellent job by Tucker Barnhart.
Well, he showed you the whole idea when you get first and second. You bunt the ball as hard as you want down to the third baseman, but you have to make the third baseman field the baseball.
Huge spot here for Pennington. Infield in, tie game, 1 out. This is Pennington's first at bat of the game. Thirty-three-year-old veteran with a chance to make it a real nice plane trip back home if the Reds can rally and take the lead and finish them off in the bottom of the 9th. But first things first, you got to get the lead. You've tied it, and now can you just get a ground ball through, a fly ball deep enough to bring him in? Anything. Fooled badly there.
Both of those last 2 pitches were set up by the first pitch fastball that were right underneath his arms. Kind of knocked him off the plate and then has come back. Neris has with back-to-back splitters. And he'll probably stay with that pitch.
One ball, 2 strikes to Pennington. And he's out of there swinging. 2 away in the inning. Been a long time since Neris has blown a save. You got to go back to the middle of June last year. We brought it up here on Monday night. The franchise record, Brad Lidge, you may remember, ripped off 41 in a row. That was the second longest by Neris. in Phillies franchise history and the longest currently in baseball. All right, go ahead, run at third. Now Billy Hamilton. Can Billy deliver a 2-out knock?
Let's see if Neris does the same thing to Hamilton that he did to Cliff Pennington. First pitch fastball in, and then drops a few of those splitters on you.
Quiet night for Billy. 0 for 3.
For Neris, this is his second year as the closer. As I mentioned, 74 games last year, 79 the year before that. What a workhorse. It's about as good a pitch as you can throw right here.
Fox Track says indeed it is a strike. Go ahead, run at third. Tie game, 2 outs. Wow. Neither batter standing a chance, Pennington and Hamilton, but Jeanette, Mesoraco, and Irvin did 3 straight hits to tie the game at 3. Phillies will bat in the bottom of the ninth. You 15% or more on car insurance. And by Toyota, for over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Rocky Balboa. Of course, that movie, all the Rockies movies based right out of here in Philly. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing will get you started tomorrow. And that'll be a 6 o'clock start time for Reds Live. Game coverage beginning with Jim Day, Chris Welsh, and Shannon Ford at 6:30 for the 6:40 start time. All right, Iglesias had a 1-2-3 eighth inning. He pitches the ninth. We're tied at 3. They'll face Santana, followed by Franco, and then Williams. Blandino stays in the game to play third base, and Tucker Barnhart remains in the game behind the plate. They had it played right behind the bag, and that's out number 1. Votto again looking over there at those fans behind the dugout.
It might be a new group tonight. They might just be carrying on the tradition of beating down on Joey Votto any chance they get.
I mean, they're down there. There's a group of about 7 guys sitting down there that you can see all the way from up here.
You can hear them from up here.
Everything they got, they're yelling out there and screaming at Votto. That's not the only guy. He just happened to be the guy that got up.
It's his turn.
All right, Franco the batter, 0 for 3 in the game. And quickly 0-2. Reds tie the game in the top of the 9th inning. It started with nearly a home run, a double by Jeanette, Mesoraco with a big hit, and then a single by Irvin to tie the game. But that's the good news, as Iglesias strikes out Franco for the second out here in the 9th. The bad news is, for a second time in this game, they had a runner at third with 1 out and could not get him in. That would have been a go-ahead run, of course. Three strikeouts of the 5 Iglesias has faced. And here's Williams. He had the game-winning home run, you may remember, in the 8th inning on Monday night. But it wasn't against Iglesias.
Did that follow through hit Mesoraco again? Looked like Nick Williams apologized to him after that long follow through. Or Barnhart, I mean. That Barnhart's kind of leaning out of the way. 2 pitches ago, this is what happened. A long follow through. Oh, jeez.
Strike 3 called. Boy, Iglesias is something, man. Back-to-back perfect innings for the Reds closer. Phillies are 1-0 in extra inning games. The Reds, this is virgin territory in 2018. In Philadelphia tonight, we mentioned the Reds have not played an extra inning game until now this year. And the new pitcher is Luis Garcia, already pitching in his 7th game of this season. We saw him for an inning in front of Reese. Allowed an infield hit to Billy Hamilton, struck out a batter, no walks, no runs. Reds have the top of the order here in the 10th after tying the game in the top of the 9th. Winker singled in the 8th inning. His first hit in 4 at-bats, although when he led off the game, he drove the ball all the way out to the 409-foot mark. That ball swung on and fouled out of play, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Winker. So no defensive changes whatsoever so far in this game made by Gabe Kapler. They basically have just inserted the pitcher into the spot where he began the game, and that is in the number 8 hole. So everybody else the same. They have Kingery, Herrera, Williams, left, center, and right. Franco, Crawford, Hernandez, Santana, third to first, and Alfaro still hanging the signs now for Garcia. Reese, the blown save. 3 hits and a run, 2 strikeouts, no walks in the 9th inning. Got him swinging. So Luis Garcia fans the Reds' leadoff man. And now it's Jose, or I beg your pardon, it is Raisel Iglesias batting. In a tie game, he's already worked 2 innings in this game. I don't think the Reds have another bench player left. They don't. They don't. They've used everybody before we got to the 10th inning. One and two on Iglesias. I don't know if I have ever seen, once you get to an extra inning game where one team is completely out of players at the end of 9 full innings, and the other team has only used one player off its bench the entire night. And that was when Hoskins pinch hit for Pivetta in the bottom of the 7th inning. I'm not sure I've ever seen that before, especially in a game that's been tight all night. You know, sometimes You might see things like that if a team early on falls behind by a decent number where they got to start hitting for guys and trying to get back into the game. And then all of a sudden they come up with a big inning and tie the game late, 4 or 5 run inning. But this has been a 1-run game since the 3rd inning.
Well, both of these teams have 8-man bullpens and 4-man benches. So you normally say, well, that's one explanation for using up all your bench players quickly. You're really playing a player short when you carry 8 in the bullpen.
2-2 on Iglesias, and he's gone swinging for the 2nd out of the inning.
Garcia came out of nowhere last year, didn't even make the team coming out of spring training, but when they did call him up late in April, had a breakout year. A nice little breaking ball he's twirling up there so far, but now the Reds' best hitter steps into the batter's box.
Votto 2 hits. He's got the one guy cheering for him. That beats everybody cheering against you. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Votto has not collected an extra base hit so far this season. He does have 2 hits in the game tonight, including an RBI and another where he got a hit and the runner was thrown out at the plate. 2 balls and a strike to Joey Votto. Fastball outside, 3 balls and a strike. And through the vacated shift. A base hit by Votto, his 3rd hit tonight. Well, now we get to Jeanette. He was a guy you may remember that led off.
Got a little open space over here to Joey, and he decides to go right through there with it.
I'm wondering if Kapler's coming out there to get this guy. I think he has a left-hander ready in his bullpen, doesn't he? Or no, they're not going to make the switch. Just standing up to. That might be what he's talking about right now. I beg your pardon. That's the Phillies bullpen that's down below, the Reds bullpen that's up above. It's hard to tell from as far away as we are. That left-hander getting loose way out there is Wandy Peralta. A lot of red out there. So my bad. All right, Scooter just missed hitting a home run. It was a double. Yeah, the one team does wear white and the other one wears gray. I got that part. But they're all wearing red jackets out there. I appreciate it.
I thought I'd slip you a note. You didn't have to.
No, I had to. It's a good line. Straight away center field, hit very, very hard, and did he get it?
He got it.
You gotta be kidding me. What a play by Herrera. A game-saving play by Odubel Herrera. Mercy, mercy me. A guy who made an error on the first play of the game, and now this. Spectacular play to keep the game tied after 9.5. tonight. Very early in the game, if you weren't with us, Billy Hamilton covering over 102 feet to go back and get this one, crashing his head into the post out there. And then this. I mean, could there be a more important time to make a play like Herrera just did? All right, so here we go as Wandy Peralta takes over in the last of the 10th inning of a 3-3 game. What an incredible play made by Herrera. And Scooter Gennett, his last 2 at-bats, could easily have 2 home runs. He has none. Alfaro will be thrown out by Peralta. Altier will now bat with 1 out. Peralta following Iglesias. He goes 2 perfect innings, strikes out 4. Reese blew the save in the top of the 9th inning. Pavetta had gone the front 7, allowed 5 hits and 2 runs. Castillo had his first good outing of his 2018 season. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs. Did not walk a batter, fanned 5. But he was on the hook for the loss after giving up the tie-breaking home run to Cesar Hernandez in the 5th. That was until the Reds rallied in the 9th. And the first time, if you're just joining us, that the Philadelphia closer has blown a save chance since June of last year. Of course, he doesn't get a lot of them. And there's ball 4 as Wandy walks Altair, the pinch hitter. Altair has attempted a couple of stolen bases already this year. He's had a hard time getting on. He's only 2 out of 27. Successful once, thrown out once.
Well, he had 5 last year, but thrown out 4 times. I don't think they risk it. Not with a Gold Glove catcher behind the plate. And a pitcher on the mound with a pretty good move.
And surprisingly, for a guy who is a leadoff hitter, Hernandez, well, he's 1 batter away. You have the number 9 hitter, Crawford, right now. And Crawford's had a terrible time, much like Altair, doing anything offensively. That was until his first at bat tonight. Hit a 2-run home run to the seats in right field. Has since bounced to second and then lined out to Gennett in the 7th inning. So he's hit the ball hard twice. And now they have the runner taking off for second base, and applying the tag is the shortstop, and that'll be the 2nd out of the inning. Pennington taking the throw from Votto.
Reds will take that all day long.
Two balls and a strike on Crawford. Philadelphia got a 2-run home run in the second inning by Crawford. Reds tied their game with 2 runs in the fourth. RBIs by Votto on a hit. Run scoring ground out by Irvin. But in the next half inning, Hernandez a 2-out solo home run to make it 3-2, and it stayed that way until the Reds' ninth. Double by Jeanette. Single by Mesoraco got him to third. Single by Irvin brought him in. The Reds had runners at first and third and nobody out in a tie game. Could not push across the go-ahead run. That's a second straight walk in this inning by Wandy Peralta. Hernandez will turn around and bat from the right side of the plate, where he is 3 for 6. So very few at bats for Hernandez from this side. He has 34 at bats from the other side.
Well, his career average is better by about 25 points or so, hitting right-handed rather than left-handed. He gets far more at bats from the left side, consequently has more home runs.
And he hit one tonight to break a 2-2 tie in the fifth. He's not looked good these first 2 pitches from Peralta. Not a little bit. If you're wondering, Crawford's only had 3 hits all year long, so I mean it's not like he's on base a lot. He has not attempted a stolen base so far this year. And now Peralta backs off the rubber. Ball and 2 strikes on Hernandez. Well, you know, as bad as Peralta has made Hernandez look at the plate in this at bat, he all of a sudden has a lot of his attention on a guy at first base instead of the final out of an inning.
He might be being told to throw over there. I mean, there are a lot of ball clubs out there, Tom, where they don't even allow the pitchers to make their own decision as to when they throw over. They just call that from the bench. I don't know if the Reds are doing that or not.
Well, you're seeing so much more of that, you know about that. You know, in amateur baseball, I mean, the coaches, you know, they're getting to a point now where you're shocked if any baseball player has a baseball IQ anymore. That's a catcher or a pitcher. And catcher's generally the sharpest guys out there in terms of knowing the whole spectrum of the game. Always been the best managers. Or at least some of the best managers. And the most frequently named managers are those, it seems, that once were catchers at some point in time.
Although there's a trend towards pitching coaches now.
Yeah, this year there is. First time, you're right.
Yeah, he's now worked the count full.
3-2, and again, they're going to hold the runner 3-2.
Well, you know he's going on this.
Yeah.
They just don't want to let him get big enough lead that a double will score him. He's got a long way to go to break the record.
Told by you, right?
Yes. Vince Coleman and I teamed up one day.
Well, look, I don't know who's calling him or who's not calling him, but right now, Wandy Peralta has walked 3 batters in a row. And he was ahead of that batter at no balls and 2 strikes and made him look foolish the first 2 pitches of the at-bat. And then all of a sudden they start paying a bunch of attention to the guy leading over at first base. Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We're back in a minute. Reds start a 4-game series against the Cardinals. Reds Live will kick it all off at 6. April in the OHIO presented by Menard. All right, Jared Hughes, after really Peralta caught a huge break by bad base running by Altair. After a 1-out walk, he was thrown out trying to take off for second base. Then Peralta walked the next batter. Peralta walked the next batter. So there's 2 on for Scott Kingery. The winning run is at second base here in the bottom of the 10th inning of a 3-3 game. In there a strike.
Hughes figures to be a workhorse. This is the 3rd time in 3 games he has pitched in Philadelphia.
0-1 the count on Kingery. And quickly 0-2. Bottom fell out of that pitch. Of course, Hughes was a loser here last night. He gave up the run in the 7th inning. He did face Kingery last night and made him look bad. A lot of pitches just like that one struck him out. Jarrett ahead 0-2. Pulled foul.
I'm a little surprised that if you faced Jared Hughes before, the batters just don't move up in the batter's box. I mean, his ball sinks so much, and it's not overpowering. But I mean, his weapon is just the downward break. You just don't see hitters moving around in the batter's box as much anymore.
And you see it all the time.
All the time. From at bat to at bat.
Yep. 0-2 on Kingery. And again, and you know, most people figure out what you're talking about, but you would see certain kinds of pitchers who had a big, huge breaking ball or a late breaking change-up, something along those lines. The further up in the batter's box, you take away that last 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah, the idea was to get it before it breaks.
Yeah.
Or before it really starts to snap.
Winning run at second. 2 outs, 0-2 on Kingery. Nice block there. Pickup by Barnhart. Kingery tonight is 1 of 4, singled all the way back in the 1st inning.
The slider here was for show. Just hoping that Kingery would take a wild swing at it. Hughes will probably go back here to the bread and butter.
Kingery drew a walk from Jared Hughes here on Monday night. So this is a 3rd day in a row that Hughes has faced Scott Kingery. Ran that ball in on his knuckles, but able to foul it off.
Really nothing else he could do with it.
Struck him out. Nice job by Hughes coming on to strand a pair. Inning number 11 around the corner. We're tied at 3. That blasted one into left field, very nearly hitting a home run. It was a double. He went to 3rd on a single by Mesoraco. That put him at 1st and 3rd with nobody out. Philip Urban then singled. And the Reds had runners at 1st and 2nd with nobody out. And then in the 10th inning, Jared Hughes puts out the fire. Stranding 2, getting a strikeout of Kingery. You know, there are going to be a number of things, win, lose, or draw, that it might be a little bit longer post-game press conference for Brian Price. You know, I'm sure he's going to be asked about some of the moves that have been made here tonight, and especially during that 9th inning when, you know, you had Phil Gosselin, who's always been considered one of those guys who can handle the bat pretty well. After the base hit by Urban tied the game, the Reds had runners at first and second base. As Ramos now takes over on the mound, I beg your pardon. And Gosselin was the scheduled hitter. The pitcher spot was next. Price sent up his best pinch hitter, theoretically, that was left on his bench, in Tucker Barnhart, to put down a sacrifice bunt, and letting Pennington, not the pitcher, he was batting in the 8-hole, to let Pennington bat. And some are probably going to ask him after the game, you can rest assured he'll be asked about it, did you consider letting Gosselin put down a bunt or attempt a bunt, and then have Barnhart to pinch hit? There's a liner to left field off the bat of Blandino, his first at bat of the night. But I mean, look, we've talked about this before. It's not sitting here picking anything apart that Brian has done tonight or not done. It's just that, you know, there are options out there about decisions that managers have to make.
And I imagine that, you know, the Philly skipper will be asked about a couple of things as well. You know, playing the infield back, allowing the Reds to tie up the ball game on a ground ball to the shortstop by Phillip Ervin. Of course, that was back earlier in the ball game in the 4th inning, when you expect maybe more runs to be scored in this game. Ervin had a base hit his last time.
And that was a game-tying single to put us in his 3-3 count now in the 11th inning.
The pitcher is Eduardo Ramos.
2-0 on Urban.
Have not seen them in this series.
Nope. Saw that ball with his leg, with his foot.
For a ball that looked like it just ate him up and knocked him to the ground, he bounced up very quickly. He just doesn't want to think about it.
Game Urban with one out here in the top of the 11th inning. And Ramos okays a sign with his catcher Alfaro. And here it comes. Foul out of play. The single biggest play of the night, arguably, was made by Herrera. I mean, we just showed you what happened in the 9th and what happened in the 10th. But in the top of the 10th inning, Jeanette had a ball that was on its way out of here, and Herrera brought it back, leaping high into the air, and it would have been a 2-run home run. And 2 on Urban. And he draws a walk.
That's a good at bat. He fouled off a ton of them.
Irvin getting a second straight start, where he started 2 games in a row and then he sat down. So this is his 3rd start in the last 4 games. So, you know, he had a hit here in the second start, scored a run. Tonight, he has a single, a walk, has driven in 2 runs, tied the game with a 9th inning base hit. He's done some nice things. So now Barnhart. And there goes Irvin. And the throw down to second base is in time. Made the swipe tag, must have been up around the neck, because it was not a particularly good throw, but man, he does have a cannon. We documented that earlier.
Well, Irvin, remember, had 59 bags last year in the minor leagues between AA and AAA, and Phillies caught a break right here. That throw took him right into the helmet. He hardly had to move the glove to J.P. Crawford. Alfaro does have the gun.
And now Barnhart's going to take what the defense gives him and just lay one down, a bunt single.
A lot easier to score with a runner on.
And that's exactly what you and I have been talking about the last couple of nights. If they're going to give you that,
it's guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
If you can bunt, it's guaranteed.
All right, so now it'll be Pennington.
And what it also does is, by putting a runner on base, you drastically reduce the amount of a shift. Now, they may not be shifting on Pennington, but if you are followed up by a hitter that they shifted really heavy on, you can't do it as much with a runner on base. You can hardly do it at all, really, with a runner on second base.
Popped up by Pennington in the foul ground and out of play. There's a swing and a miss by Pennington, and that'll end the inning. Phillies will bat last of the 11th, tied at 3. Season with new superstars. Fridays, starting this June. All right, 3 runs, 11 hits for the Reds. Reds have left 8 runners on base. 3 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for Philadelphia. And the Phillies have stranded 5. And now we get a look at Kevin Quackenbush. He was a loser here on Monday night.
Reds have been through Amir Garrett, Wandy Peralta, and Iglesias, and Jared Hughes for a third of an inning. That leaves them Austin Bryce, Tanner Rainey, Zach Weiss, who has not yet made his major league debut, and Kevin Quackenbush, who is on the mound now.
Hughes pitching for a 3rd straight day, so they're getting him out of there after just the 1 batter. All right, it'll be Herrera to start things. And a strike 1. Garcia works an inning, allows a hit. A couple of strikeouts. And then Ramos behind him, still in the game for Philadelphia. Reds bullpen has been outstanding. I mean, outside of the wildness by Wandy Peralta, they've covered what, 3-4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. Foul out of play. It's a heart of the order here with Herrera, Santana, and Franco in the Philadelphia 11th.
Quackenbush is the type of 4-seam fastball pitcher that is more effective up in the zone, just at the top end and a little bit above the strike zone, except for that breaking ball. And he's got a big overhand hammer.
To the count on Herrera, and there's that pitch up that you were just talking about, Chris Welsh, and that's out number 1.
You know, there's got to be some deception there because the raw velocity of that pitch is not overwhelming. But again, as I've said many times, the hitters don't hit the radar gun, they hit what they see or they don't see. And that ball just must not sink, or it gets on you quicker than it appears. It's a lot of chases up there.
And 1 account on Carlos Santana. Tardy on that fastball at 92, and it's 0-2. Santana does not look right at the plate yet. You know, very slow start for him. He's never been a big high average hitter. Career .249 hitter. But he's 0 for 4 tonight, 6 for 40 after signing the big free agent deal, leaving Cleveland during the offseason. Of course, you always hate saying that about any player because on the next pitch or the one after that, they hit one in the 3rd deck.
I was going to say that.
Started to pull the trigger, did not. 2-2. Franco waits in the on-deck circle. Phillies have not had a hit since the 7th inning. And that was a leadoff single against Amir Garrett. You may remember that was just a pop fly that fell in front of Jesse Winker. The last hit they had was the tie-breaking home run by Hernandez all the way back in the 5th inning. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Santana, and he walked him after getting ahead 0-2. Going to see what options Gabe Kapler might have. But really not much. He's got Floreman he can use as a runner if he wanted to. They have a backup catcher, but that's it left on their bench. Franco 0 for 4. Told you Quackenbush got the loss here on Monday night. That's when in the 8th inning of a 5-5 game, he gave up the 2-out 8th inning solo home run to the man who stands in the on-deck circle, Nick Williams. Slow roller, and Jeanette will have to play to first. So the Phillies get the winning run into scoring position with Williams coming up. Now, do you walk this guy? Yep, they're going to go ahead and walk him. Yep. You figure they got a base open. This guy just took your pitcher deep night before last. You've got a right-handed batting, struggling right-handed batter coming up next in Alfaro.
And a guy that'll chase a lot, too. Phillies have not had that many opportunities with runners in scoring position tonight. Only 4 of them overall. They've delivered 1, so they're 1 for 4 in that risk category.
All right, winning run at second base for the Phillies here in the bottom of the 11th inning of a 3-3 game. Quackenbush. And a hot smash. Good play by Blandino.
Nicely done.
Nicely done indeed. So that sends us to the 12th, tied at 3. Here at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. And taking over on the mound, left-hander Hobie Milner. He appeared in each of Philadelphia's first 4 games of this season. He was a guy that, drew all the pub when
Gabe Kapler called to the bullpen for a reliever, a lefty, and he thought that Milner had warmed up. Milner hadn't taken his jacket off or warmed up at all.
No.
In fact, it had taken him so long to get from the bullpen to the mound that the umpire crew docked him 3 pitches, 3 of his 8 pitches. So he had 5 pitches basically to warm up to pitch in a big league game.
He delivers to Billy Hamilton a strike. You and I were just talking in between innings. The rule they played with in the
minor leagues.
And didn't they play with it in the World Baseball
Fall League?
Where, you get to a certain point in extra innings and you start an inning with runners at first and second base and nobody out. And you and I were just talking about that. I think we both agree that would add tremendous excitement to this sport. And some might say, oh, that's ridiculous. Well, all you need to do is, this is one for the eye test, okay? You look around this ballpark. There is nobody here. And this is supposed to be theoretically the most exciting part of a game. You're in extra innings of a tie game. Compare it to overtime of an NFL game, overtime of a basketball game, a hockey game. Nobody's leaving those games. People pour out of here the longer you go in extra inning games. All of a sudden, you start every half inning with first and second, nobody out. I bet you some people stick around a little bit. What do you think?
We're seeing, because it's exciting. I mean, there's almost I can't say a guarantee of scoring runs, but there's action in the ball game. What happens a lot of times to the energy of an extra inning game is that it kind of goes into the favor of the pitcher after about the 12th inning.
Yep.
And it just does that. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're in the 15th or 16th inning.
And then there's literally nobody in the stands and nobody watching on TV unless they don't have a job. I mean, there are just some things where you have to be at least open-minded and just look around.
I'm open-minded to Billy Hamilton getting on base.
Yes. Well, apparently the pitcher is not. 1 away in the inning. And because the Reds, of course, have been out of position players for a long, long time, whenever they roll around to the pitcher's spot for the rest of this game, and they had to let Raisel Iglesias, you may remember, bat all the way back in the 10th inning. So Kevin Quackenbush might get a chance to bat in this game. In fact, he's due up next. Jesse Winker, first pitch swinging, a roller to second base. And quickly, Milner's retired the first 2 here in the Cincinnati 12th inning. And they're going to send up Tyler Mahle instead to bat for Quackenbush. Of course, Mally's only made 2 starts so far this season. And as a batter, he is 1 for 2. Gabe Kapler.
And Kapler's going to make a pitching change, right?
With a pitcher at the plate.
He sure is, because the umpire just called for the pitcher to come in. They're going to double switch him into the game. Michael Franco went into the dugout.
And Floriman, I believe, is a new third baseman, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to change pitchers to face a pitcher.
Tyler Mahle's going to want a copy of this one.
inning. And the Reds are batting. The pitcher coming up, and a pitching change is made to face him. They bring in Florman to now play third base, replacing Franco. Yaxel Rios will face Tyler Malley, who's batting for Kevin Quackenbush. It is infrequent that you ever see a pitcher bat for another pitcher in an extra inning game. It is far more rare to see a manager make a pitching change to face a pinch hitting pitcher. But that's what we're looking at right now. And Gabe Kapler has his team up to a 5-5 start, so even though he's just been blistered here in Philadelphia for multiple moves, and I mean just whacked for many of his moves. In fact, he's already had a player or two come out and talk about, well, the computer must have gotten me in a lineup. And
well, I'll tell you, if Malley gets a hit right here, the whole processing unit will probably have a meltdown.
We'll see. He gets a strikeout swing. So good for him. He won't get booed enough. Austin Bryce taking over on the mound. Florman just came in as part of a double switch. And first pitch swinging against Bryce. Sharply hit one hopper, and Jeanette.
We're going to get him at second.
Throws it over the head.
No, they're not.
Of the first baseman Votto, and now the Phillies have the winning run at second base. It's a second error in this series, and the other one was a big one made already by Jeanette.
Hit hard but gloved cleanly. Got all day to do it, and he just threw it over his head.
You may remember he made the first inning error here on Monday night. It would have been a 1-2-3 inning for Cody Reed. I tell you, it's that, that we've talked about it before. It's that low angle, almost submarine style throw that we see from Jeanette from time to time, and that one just sailed on him. But he committed that error in the first inning 2 nights ago. It allowed a 4th batter to bat in the inning, and Hoskins hit a home run. That turned out to be a huge play in the game because the Phillies won the game by 1 run.
Well, it looks like the Reds are going to play this, the old basic play, which means Austin Bryce, if you're going to get that runner at third base, you've got to bust it to the third base line. Blandino, the third baseman, stays at home. Votto comes charging hard, and they try to get the lead runner. He's the only one you care about, obviously.
Crawford shortens up, puts a bunt, just what you said. Make the bunt it hard right at the third baseman, make him field it. Now the Phillies have the winning run at third with 1 out in the 12th inning.
And really, you have no choice at this point except to walk the bases loaded.
Well, the manager, Brian Price, will come walking out of the dugout. He's going to.
And they're going to bring in a 6-man infield. Billy Hamilton coming in from center field, presumably to get a new glove, probably an infielder's glove. They'll probably walk the bases loaded, put 6 men in the infield, and hope that Austin Bryce could get a ground ball. The Reds turn 2 and get out of the inning.
We're going to bring Hamilton in, as you mentioned, and so that will leave Urban in right, and that will leave Winker in left. And they're basically playing right center and left center, respectively. Hamilton will play right up the middle behind the second base bag, one would assume. Yeah, that's where he's going, right behind the mound. You can't go all the way back near the second base bag because you can't throw a runner out at home from there. Not on a ground ball. They're going to intentionally walk Hernandez. And they're going to face Kingery, who has struck out each of his last 2 times up, including stranding 2 runners in the 10th inning. And the Reds look extremely confused on defense. And now Blandino's trying to figure out exactly where he should be. And they appear to, everybody's set to go. Hamilton started on the first pitch playing on the first base side of the second base bag. Now he has moved to the other side. That's why I say the Reds really look confused there before that first pitch after having a meeting on the mound with the manager.
Well, the other part of it, the outfielders are playing way too deep. You got to bring those guys in because they're still not close enough to be able to throw anybody out if he happens to loft the ball into the outfield. If you're going to play that deep, you might as well bring another infielder in.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way Winker, where he is, would have any chance to throw out a runner.
If he catches it with some momentum, has a chance.
But not Winker.
No, you're just too deep here.
All right.
Bryce is thinking about the strikeout, and that's the cleanest way out of this inning.
Bryce ready. He's fallen behind Kingery 2-0 with a winning run at third, 1 out here in the Philadelphia 12th. And he takes down low 3 balls and no strikes. They would have the left-handed batting Herrera due up next. 3-0 on Scott Kingery. Winning run at third. He looks at a fastball strike. Young man had his first career home run here on Monday night. His first career grand slam last night, and now looking for his first career game-ending hit. And this will do it. Philadelphia has won the game. Fly ball into right field. It'll be caught, but tagging and scoring the winning run after a leadoff walk is Floriman. And the Reds are swept in Philadelphia. The final count in 12 innings of 4-3. It was an error. I said a walk. It was an error that started the inning by Scooter Gennett that allowed Floriman to go all the way to second base, ultimately scoring the winning run. Alrighty, Reds Live, the postgame is coming up right now. Reds fall in 12, final count of 4-3.